Hey folks, welcome back. At the end of our last session, we talked about looking at some different ways, different scenarios in which you could use Evernote to help you out in your daily life as well as your professional life. So if you have a busy family like I do, during the week in particular, it's not always easy to get together for prepared dinners. And it's also sort of a pain to try to remember what each person in the family likes. So, one of the things you can do is you can create a notebook and you can call it takeout food or takeout orders or something along those lines. And then within that notebook, you could create a note for each restaurant where you and your family members like to eat out, and then put the ingredients or the menus and the specific orders that each person in your family likes, and either check it off like this. I've just created a checkbox for each of the items that everybody in my family normally likes. And for this, all I did was I created this to-do list once and then just copied it for each family member. So that's a pretty simple way, but when you go to, for instance, in this case, Chipotle, take out your iPhone, bring up your note, and there you have the orders right there. All you have to do is ahead of time ask the family, is Chipotle okay? If you get the okay, there you go. But you could do this for each restaurant, and it just, again, one little thing that kind of simplifies something in your life. So before we move on from this Windows version, I want to also look at some of the options that we have. And under the general options, you have the choice of launching Evernote at Windows Login. You also have under Sync the choice of what gets synced and how often your notes get synced. Now, every 30 minutes is okay. I would probably suggest every 15 minutes. One of the things to keep in mind is that, particularly if you begin using Evernote frequently, the longer between syncs, the more data has to be synced. Also, the longer between syncs, if something were to happen, power outage, computer crash, whatever wasn't synced, obviously you're going to lose at that moment. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to try to keep your syncs more frequently. 15 minutes is a pretty good choice. Under Notes, you have some formatting changes that you could make. And you've got your different hotkeys, your language choices, and then under Reminders, you have the choice of whether or not you want to receive an email reminder on the day that that to-do list is due. And then under Clipping, you have the choice of either using the selected or default notebook, or specifying a specific notebook in which you want your clippings to go. So, for instance, if you do a lot of web research, you may have a notebook called Web Research or Web Notes, whatever it is, and you may set this destination to go directly into that Web Research notebook. I'm going to leave mine as default. And you can see here some of the other clipping options available to you. So we'll look at this on the Mac version as well, but I did want you to see what this looked like on Windows before we moved off of this. So let's go ahead and move on over to the Mac. And you can see here we have our Chipotle orders again. But on the Mac, we're going to be going under Evernote and then going to Preferences. Remember, under Windows, it was under the Tools menu and Options. On the Mac, it's going to be under Evernote and Preferences. And you have the same choices pretty much. Under your general, you have, by default, place new notes in the following notebook, and that's going to be your inbox because that's the one that I set as my default. Whatever you set as your default, that would be your default notebook. You have syncing options here, and every 15 minutes. Now, you got a couple other options on the Mac that you don't have on Windows. Every 5 minutes is actually the choice that I'd like to change mine to. You could also set it up to be manually as well. And then we have the EN Hot. This is that notebook that the other demo account shared with us that we looked at yesterday. And this is going to be one of the notes that gets synced. On the software updates, you have the choice to check whether you're updated right now. You also have the choice to check on a daily basis, weekly, or monthly basis. I would suggest that you check on a daily basis because Evernote does update frequently. Update to beta versions, that's up to you. You've got your shortcuts. Actually, before that, you've got your clippings. And with the clippings, you've got some choices as to how you get notified after a clipping. And then as far as PDFs go, you have the choice whether it's going to be displayed inline, which means basically when you clip or upload the PDF into your note, you see the contents of the PDF. Otherwise, if you choose as attachments, you just see a little box saying PDF in the title of it, and then when you click on it, it then opens up to you. Here we have our shortcuts. These are basically the same that we've looked at before. You've got your formatting, your reminders, and again, under reminders, just like on Windows, we have the choice as to whether or not we want to receive reminder emails the morning that they're due. And this scan snap actually works with a specific product that's available for you to purchase in the Evernote market, and we're not really interested in that right now. Okay, so those are the general preferences, and we're going to be looking at or continuing to look at some of the ways that we can use Evernote here within a personal setting.